A very warm welcome once again, and I want to dive into the subject straight away. Dr. Panagariya, this is a subject that you know perhaps better than most of us here, and that big question, we are at a pivotal moment in our economic history. In fact, the world seems to be at a pivotal moment, Dr. Panagariya, on account of what is happening, the dismantling of the global trade orders. What do you think is needed now to be done in terms of our domestic economy, our decisions, our policy architecture to achieve a developed India when the Republic turns 100?
Thank you for having me, Siddharth. Always a pleasure to be with you. Let me first say that, the way Sakshi sort of introduced the subject, it might seem like, somehow the model we are on has been a failure. I really don't think so. So first of all, we have done quite well, actually, at least in the post-reform era. Yes, I think, there was a model that did poorly, if not failed, with which we started immediately after independence. But I think, that's way behind us, and at least since 1991, we have been on a different model. Now, there are a few things that need to be tweaked and all, and you are absolutely right that there is no, it is a pivotal moment for us to be actually looking back, looking for what else we should be doing, how we should be modifying our path of growth. And particularly in the present context, in some ways, I think, this practically like the 1991 movement in the sense of, that there is a crisis that has been brought by the massive tariffs that the United States, well, 25% probably has already been actually imposed, and another 25 will get added in 21 days. So it is a good time to look back at, to take stock and think of what we could do. I think a number of things to be done. Our reform agenda as it existed had not, it's not like we had exhausted it. There's a lot of, a lot of things got done, but a lot of things remain to be done. And on the external front, I think we still, the opening up process, particularly I would say that at this pivotal moment, we should aggressively pursue the free trade agreement with the European Union. I think that's very, very important. As one market seems to be kind of closing, we need to open wider another market. And that is a negotiation that has been far along from what I understand. I should mention, I am the chair of a body which really is not a part of the government. Effectively, it's a constitutional body where both the state governments and the central governments are clients, and therefore, I don't speak from either inside knowledge nor do I speak for the government. So that is one thing, European Union agreement, that needs to be done. And then there are still reforms to be done, particularly with respect to labor markets and land markets, about which we can speak.
Dr. Panagariya, do you think, since you said this is a 1990 moment, this is a challenge that we will be able to surmount? There will be short-term pain for certain sectors, that's pretty much clear. But do you think we'll come out of this in the medium to long run?
Look, we have come out of much bigger crises. And right now, the economy is very robust. And trade crisis, is a little funny one because the supply chains have their own way of shifting. Not only you can shift the, we often think about this shifting of origin, that the Chinese, when they were faced with these tariffs, the origin of some of the Chinese products got shifted to Vietnam and goods kind of got, but there is also the shifting of the destination. So, if we face higher tariffs into the US, but lower tariffs into the European Union, and Vietnam faces lower tariffs in the US, well, our exports can shift out of the United States into European Union, displace some of the Vietnamese products, which then can go to the US market. So, the markets, the profit motive is so strong, and entrepreneurs so smart that they readjust these supply chains very rapidly. And if you look at all the trade flows, look, your peak total exports in the world prior to COVID was 19 trillion. This is the merchandise exports. Post-COVID, 25 trillion. So what happened there? I mean, we all thought that the supply chains had been completely disrupted by COVID and all. We saw all those, pictures of the Los Angeles port and all goods piling up and all that. But what happened? 25 trillion by 2022.
And do you think that overall exports will continue to grow at that same post-COVID trajectory despite what President Trump seems to be doing?
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, that sort of prediction, in any case, you can't make even in the normal circumstances, so there is some ups and downs that happen, but the longer term, I mean, I really don't think in terms of the next quarter, or sometimes, economists, the macroeconomists particularly like to think of in terms of the next month or next moment. I think much longer term, and I think in a longer term, I don't see that ultimately, if we set our own house in order, there is anything stopping our trajectory of growth. I mean, I see there's still considerable room for acceleration that we have.
Considerable room for acceleration that we have. That's a very good point, Dr. Panagariya, and I want to follow it up with a question. In terms of our model of growth, Dr. Panagariya, you will agree, and you've written and spoken about this for decades now. We currently have a leading edge in services. We made efforts towards manufacturing. Many of them have delivered a result. At this time, what should be the strategy? Should it be a mix, or do you think we need to focus more on services and perhaps be prepared for slightly slower growth as far as manufacturing is concerned?
Yeah. So I've never actually thought in terms of whether we should do more of this or less of that. I really believe in good policies. Let us put good policies in place. Let the entrepreneurs decide what they want to do. Your question can be pushed further down. You might ask what services or what manufacturing, which products, etc. And I never kind of try to answer that question, because all of the entrepreneurs who are sitting here, they will decide what is to be produced. But the government's job really is to put good policies in place. And as long as we do that, they will decide,
Since we are looking ahead, and this conversation is, while it's under the shadows of the most recent tariff moves by President Trump, but when we look ahead, what reforms and moves would you like the government of the day to undertake, not just at the center, Dr. Panagariya, but at the states, to free up this entrepreneurial energy and spirit that Indians are known for?
Okay, I think this is the most important question, really. So at the center, there are two things I would say. One, I have already said, trade agreements, particularly the one with the European Union, that I think becomes much more crucial now in terms of given the uncertainty that has gotten created in one other large market. Perhaps we will end up reassessing our stance with respect to China also, and Asia in general. I think, the Asian market is itself also a large market. Looking domestically, if you map where the products are being exported from on the Indian map, you'll see that these are being exported mostly from the west. The east side is kind of more or less empty. And we got, Andhra Pradesh, we got Odisha, to some degree you can also say Tamil Nadu, but Tamil Nadu being at the end of the peninsula, probably uses the west side currently. So because even the Tamil Nadu exports seem to be channeled through the western side. But the eastern side is weak, so that's the other thing we perhaps will need to do. Now, domestically, one most important reform, which really is only one step left, which is the labor law. The 4 codes were actually enacted by the parliament in 2019 and 20, and they still have not been implemented. I think those are absolutely essential, crucial. And there cannot be a better moment to actually do it quickly, because this can be, all we need to do is to notify the rules and regulations, and effectively they get implemented. There is no parliamentary action required on them. So I think that is absolutely crucial, I would say, in terms of the job creation. And this is where we get back to this, the bottlenecks facing the manufacturing and therefore the job creation in manufacturing. And I think that's very essential. Now, at the state level, the most important factor of production at the state level, and this is largely a state issue, is land. It is incredible how at our per capita income level, land is so expensive. I'm talking urban land. Now, when we think of urbanization, urban land, we are generally thinking in terms of how to make life better for the residents of the cities and the towns. We don't think, aggressively in terms of preparing our cities for the businesses. I think that is, there has to be a little bit of shift of that. There are a lot of land-related reforms which need to be done, starting from Land Acquisition Act, which I think, at the central level now, this is not going to happen because an attempt was made in 2015 and it did not succeed. I think it's going to be harder for the central government, but state governments can still do it. And if 3 or 4 states would come forward and reform that, hopefully the central government, which has to give the ultimate clearance assent for that kind of reform, it's a concurrent list subject, and therefore assent of the central government would be required. I think it should be forthcoming. Then that can be done. That's land acquisition. But there are all sorts of land laws, from conversion of land, for example, agriculture to industry, but also in the way the zoning gets done in the cities. Sometimes these zones are small and they're defined for very specialized, specific activities. You need larger zones with mixed activity, residential, business, commercial, everything, So larger zones, because you have to be able to accommodate. Then you have to start giving the permissions, actually reform the rules themselves to let the buildings rise up. If the horizontal space is limited, then go vertically up. I don't believe that our horizontal space is limited. It is all policy imposed because we don't do the conversion that easily from agricultural industry on the periphery, etc. This is always in the center of the city. In any case, we make it more expensive because in the center of the city, we always go for low FSI. So that needs to be fixed up. Even on a given plot, more than half of the land has to be left empty because of all sorts of regulations that, in the front offset, the back offset, side offset and all. Then there is, how much you can build. Then there is the environmental, which takes another 10-15% of the plot area. So you can't really, as it is, you get with such great difficulty urban land. And then even that actually, half of it you are not allowed to use. And then the FSI restricts going vertically up as well. I think there are solutions, policy solutions. Some states are, by the way, doing. Telangana has done it. And very recently, UP has made a major reform. I think, it doesn't go all the way where one would like it to go, but it's a good start. It's a very good start where, a lot of the clearances have been reduced also. Final thing, both at the center and at the state level, regulation. We have this plethora of regulations, even on small little things, On the one hand, we have done digitization. So anything that has been digitized and works really without interface with a bureaucrat, it's all fine. But the moment you have to, interface with the bureaucracy, the regulation is so multi-layered, so many permissions. Just example, take of exports. Now, no country really requires all these permissions for exports because you're sending goods out. It's their problem. Let them do the checking. If imports are coming, fine, they're coming into my country and want to make sure that, these are the right kind of goods that are coming in, and also checking of those is fine. But why so many permissions for exports? This is mind-boggling. We are probably the only country in the world that really effectively, through these multiple permissions that we require, we actually put a restraint on our own exports.
Are you also referring, along with the regulations, to certain export control measures that are taken for some commodities at times?
Good thing you mentioned, actually. These are the quality control orders, QCOs. I think, we should wholesale start removing those. Because, these are on the import side. These are on the import side, and if products are coming from, if these are products that are going to the other major markets in around the world, anything that's being sold in the European markets or in the American markets, effectively it should meet the standard. So I really think that these QCOs that we have started, really, they are actually instruments of protection, and largely, I think there may be some specific ones which have legitimate reason, but largely they act as protectionists, and I think these QCOs really should be taken out.
Dr. Panagariya, your career arc is very, very impressive, and you, someone who's both been academic and now a practitioner within the government system in some ways. We've been called protectionist repeatedly in the recent past, being allegedly one of the most protectionist countries in the world. As a trade economist and one of the foremost ones in the world, how would you describe India's trade protectionism, and to what extent do you agree with this claim?
We are substantially open. No, so I don't think we are, there may be protectionist measures, as we talked about just now about QCOs. But if you say that is India an open economy, yes, of course. We cannot actually.
But are we a dead economy?
No, you don't want me to answer that question.
We'll still let you take a shot at it.
I mean, look, you don't grow at 7% plus, and actually in dollar terms we are growing even faster than 7%. So, I don't know what the definition. I mean, maybe dead bodies do move.
Well, that's the best you can get out of an economist, right? He's not a politician, and therefore the response to that loaded question is very, very illustrative. Sir, I also want you to tell us about the steel frame that runs India, both at the state and the central level. A lot of people say that the steel frame has delivered, kept India together, but a lot of people say, maybe we perhaps need a little bit less of steel. Now that you've spent so many years working with the government system, how would you say this? And this is a question for the future, not a question for here and now.
Mixed bag, because there are certainly very, very good people inside the government, without which reforms could not have happened. I mean, you needed like A.N. Verma at the time, you needed later on, people like Amitabh Kant, others, so there are good people. In my own commission, I have a fantastic secretary who does a lot of great technical, not only administrative, technical work, So I'm sort of very happy. I've got very good staff, actually, all of it. All praise for my staff in the commission. I can't think of anybody who is not delivering. So there are a lot of good people also. But it's the totality of the system that we have created. And that is related to the multi-layered regulation that has been created. And I mean, it's a complicated thing. We won't, it's a separate, full, longer conversation.
No, but one of the biggest questions, and if you see just the recent past, there's so much angst about why we can't keep our cities clean, why we don't have an efficient garbage disposal system in cities where real estate prices are amongst the highest in the world. Why do you think this is the case?
Well, that also is, as not just not entirely to do with the steel frame. It's got to do with you and me as well. I mean, at one time, I remember Prime Minister was saying that, कि घर के सामने कूड़ा पड़ा हुआ है, तो अभी ये सोचेंगे कि केंद्र सरकार आके उसको हटाए. This is the attitude of the people. I mean, we by habit take the garbage out of our house, but then we'll dump it right outside. I think there is a citizen responsibility on this as well, and by the way, a lot of effort is being made, and the citizens, in fact, where they have the even minimal resources and some guidance, do quite well actually, because as the commission chair, we have been visiting all the states. We have visited all 28 states, and we also go and meet with the panchayats. And some of the panchayats are doing fabulous job on this, the entire sanitation front. I mean, you'll not believe that this kind of garbage collection is done in these rural jurisdictions by the panchayats. They are often short of resources, and that's a different issue.
And perhaps greater allocation of resources is very, very essential. Dr. Panagariya, this is not a question on your work at the Commission, because that's privileged work, and I'm not at all asking you about the Commission work. But since you've traveled across India, interacted with states, and have understood what they are doing as part of the Finance Commission's work, this imbalance, regional or otherwise, in the growth trajectory of states in India, why is that the case, sir?
In my thinking, leadership really matters incredibly. There are the factors, but in the same state, you get a good chief minister coming through and you see what begins to happen. I'll give you examples, two, one on the west coast and the other on the east coast. You had Gujarat, although Gujarat started more in the middle, but now it's practically close to the top. Leadership had to do with it. But Odisha, I mean, that's on the east coast. Odisha, 1980s, was the second from the bottom, if I'm not mistaken, Bihar, and then that was Odisha. Today, Odisha's per capita income, you will probably, if you don't know it, you will be surprised, is higher than West Bengal. That tells you about the leadership on both sides.
Okay, that's a fantastic example that you give.
So,
by 2047, which will be the top 3 states in India according to you, sir?
Well, if you look at the current trajectory, you see, now talking about, how the entrepreneurship itself also sorts things out. If you look at any country which has been a high per capita income country, you will see that population largely ends up on the coasts. Take a look at the United States, you look at South Korea, you look at Taiwan, you look at any of the countries, you look at actually China, for instance, all on the coast. Well, that sorting out is happening in India also today. I'll tell you who are the 8 highest per capita income states. You got Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, then you got Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Haryana, and you got Telangana, right? Now, of the 6 I have named, of the 8 I have named, 6 are on the coast, and 2, Telangana was on the coast just before bifurcation, and now Telangana, of course, in any case, is hooked up into the global marketplace through IT industry. Haryana is the same, it's largely Gurgaon, and Gurgaon is also IT industry. So, I think there are your 7 or 8 cities or states, out of which I think you will see the top 3 emerging by 2047. But these are the states, by the way, which will get to the Viksit Bharat level way before 2047. I mean, these states are already very high per capita income. They are the top, they are in the top 20 percentile.
So will Maharashtra be number 1 well before the 2047 deadline?
No, I don't know number 1 or not, but it will become, my definition is like, I use the World Bank definition per capita income in 2024 dollars of about $14,000. And that I think Maharashtra will achieve well before 2047. As will some of these other states like Gujarat, Telangana, Karnataka, etc.
That's a very good point to end this conversation at. Maharashtra will achieve that kind of per capita income, and we have Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, Union Minister from Maharashtra, from Nagpur. On that note, I thank you, Dr. Panagariya, for your time and for this session. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Panagariya. May I please request you to stay back on the stage while I now invite Mr. Siddharth Basu Chatterjee, publisher for Business Today magazine, to please come up on stage and present a token of appreciation. Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Dr. Panagariya. We truly value your insights, sir, on the first session.